Hello everyone, welcome and thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Jodie Hill. I am the founder and managing partner at Thrive Law. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, about how I founded Thrive Law, but first of all I want to give you a bit of background, kind of who am I, where am I from. So I was born in Leeds and I moved around actually quite a lot because my parents were in the army. So I had a really odd upbringing in that I didn't have a lot of friends when I was at school because I moved every year to a different country, to a different school. So it was quite unsettling. I then was able to get a scholarship to a boarding school, because I came from a really working class family, I found that really difficult because I was surrounded by quite a lot of people who I didn't really have anything in common with. So I kind of went through a bit of a transition whilst I was at boarding school, just really struggling, quite frankly, and had quite a lot of bad experiences with bullying. And when I left school, I then applied, as part of my kind of understanding around what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, I applied for university. In order to be a lawyer, one of the things I thought I needed to do was do history and history and English, and all of those like more serious topics. But actually, I didn't do any of those. I did French, I did German, I did art, and I did psychology. And I didn't get 3 A's either. I got 2 B's and a C. I was supposed to get 3 A's and I became really unwell. I've got anxiety and I've suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And one of the issues was that I became really unwell around my exam time. So I actually was supposed to go to university in London, and I didn't get in. I went through clearing. I needed 3 A's and I got 2 B's and a C, so I was absolutely devastated. But actually, I went through clearing, which is like kind of like a second round. If you don't get into your uni that you were supposed to go to, you can then apply to other universities who might accept you with the lower grades. So I ended up back in Leeds and I went to Leeds Beckett Uni and it was the best thing ever. I met some amazing people. I really enjoyed the social side and getting involved in the committees. I was part of things like street law, which is like going to schools and helping people understand legal rights. I was part of mooting competitions, which is like where you debate, but in a courtroom style. There's loads of exciting things that you can get involved in as like kind of part of being in the university itself, but also as part of the law school. So I'm so glad that happened, but at the time it was really devastating. And I think, looking back, I was thinking, oh, this is awful, I'm going to fail. But the reality was everything happens for a reason. And I think it's really important that we remember that, you don't have to be so strict on your journey and where you're going. So obviously I went to university, I'd got my degree, but whilst I was at university, one thing I really want to make clear is I actually didn't have any money for university and I worked 3 jobs and I got a loan, and I got a student loan to basically fund my university. So I don't come from a family where I know any lawyers. In fact, nobody in my family even has GCSEs or A-levels or a degree. So when I went to university, everyone was kind of like, what's happening? But actually, I knew that that's what I wanted to do because I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I qualified, the only way you could become a lawyer was to go to university. But obviously now there are loads of different ways to qualify, which I'll talk about in a minute. But actually, the reason why I'm telling you about this is that I think there's a misconception that, you have to know someone in the law to become a lawyer, or you have to have lots of money. And that's simply not true. We need more people who are a diverse mindset to come into our profession. Lots of people who went to Oxford and Cambridge is not what we need. What we need is lots of people who think differently and who come from different backgrounds. And I think that's so important as we start to grow our profession into different business areas. So I did fund my education myself, and it wasn't easy, but it was so worth it because I knew that I had to work hard to get that done because I'd invested a lot of time and invested a lot of money. And so when I qualified, when I first got my degree, so I got a 2-1. I didn't get a first, but I was working. All I needed was a 2-1. I wasn't bothered so much about getting a first. I wanted to make sure I passed, but obviously still had to fund myself through university. And I came to the end of university, and I suppose throughout that time I'd been doing some work experience, going to see solicitors' firms, barristers' chambers, and really just understanding, what do I want to do as a lawyer? Like, what kind of lawyer do I want to be? Do I want to be a solicitor? Do I want to be a barrister? What area? Where in the UK do I want to live? So lots of things to think about once I'd qualified and got my degree. However, I then stayed in Leeds, and actually I did the bar course, which is now called the BPTC. So it's the course that you do to become a barrister. And again, very male dominated, very old school. Lots of people all have friends and family who are lawyers who become barrister, who are like in the bar school that you go to. But again, I had no contacts, and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I can't describe, it was the best year of my life. The training and the access to things that I got to see, going to court, training to speak to judges, and the advocacy that I learned, it was just amazing. And it was, really difficult. I'm not going to say it was amazing, but it was really difficult. And again, I got a loan. I got a bank loan to fund it because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I didn't come from a family where that they could afford to pay for me. And again, my family didn't really understand what I wanted to do. They hadn't even heard of a barrister. So that was quite challenging for me. But I took the view that that's what I wanted to do, and I'm very determined. Once I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. So I did the course. I passed with a really high mark, actually. And I then decided I wanted to become a barrister and do a pupillage, which is basically like a training year that you then, once you've qualified as a barrister, you have to do a training year before you can practice on your own. So whilst I was looking for that training year, I went to work at a law centre in Bradford, and then I worked there for a couple of years. I helped the Citizens Advice and the Sangat Centre and a few other charities in understanding the Equality Act. So I did some training all around legal stuff, and pretty much straight away was in tribunal because they knew that I'd done the bar course. They just sent me off to tribunal to do cases, which was really scary, but also really, really exciting because I was actually able to practice everything that I'd learned. So that whole experience was really, really motivating, albeit difficult. But actually, I felt as though I was going in the right direction. And then I went to work for a law firm in Leeds, and I worked as a paralegal. So that's like someone who practices law, usually has either done a degree, hasn't done a degree, but wants to kind of pursue a career in law. And you start to do some legal tasks to basically supporting solicitors. So I started to do those for a firm, and they really liked me. And they said to me, why don't you become a solicitor? We could cross-qualify you and you could work here. And I was thinking, well, I'm looking for a pupillage. I was still going for interviews for pupillage, which is the barrister training bit that I needed to finish. But I was already working in a firm, and I really enjoyed working in the firm. And effectively, as a paralegal, you're kind of almost at the point of a trainee solicitor. So the type of work I was doing basically solicitor work. And there's not a massive difference between solicitors and barristers. A solicitor and barristers can advise on the same thing, but a barrister tends to be more in court, and a solicitor tends to be more face-to-face with clients and dealing with lots of cases at one time, more advisory work rather than just tribunal work. So we do a lot of preventative advice and training and that type of thing as well. So I was thinking, actually, as a solicitor, I could do employment law and go to tribunal, because there are certain courts, like an employment tribunal, where you don't actually have to be a barrister. You can be a solicitor. So it gets a bit complicated, but essentially, the type of work I wanted to do allowed me to basically do the barrister work and the solicitor work in one. So although I trained as a barrister, I actually decided to cross-qualify and change my route. It was a bit of a curveball, but it was, again, the best decision I ever made, because had I have become a barrister, I would have moved to London, and I'd have had to, that's where I was offered a place essentially at the same time. So everything comes at once. I was looking for ages for a pupillage, and then I got offered a pupillage and to train as a solicitor in the same year, within the same few months. So it was a difficult decision to make, because I'd always wanted to be a barrister. But essentially, I just took a step back and I thought about, well, why do I want to be a lawyer? What is it that I want to achieve from this career? And I want to help people, and I want to give a voice to vulnerable people, and I can do that on a wider scale as a solicitor. That's what I decided in the end. So I qualified as a solicitor in 2013, and I was quite young actually. I was only 24 when I qualified. The average age is about 30 to qualify for as a solicitor, because it does take quite a long time to get there. So, you know, if you are going down that route, don't be disheartened if you don't get it straight away. It can take a number of years, but I was really fortunate and obviously worked really hard to get qualified as quickly as possible, mainly because I had stuff to pay for. I wasn't like the other kids in my class where they had their parents paying their rent or their car. You know, I'd learned to drive and everything paid for myself at uni. So I had a lot of things that I had to pay for. So I had to make a decision commercially, what was right for me, to look after me. So that was exciting. So then I started on my career as a solicitor, and it has just gone from strength to strength. And I've really enjoyed being able to grow and learn and understand all the different areas of discrimination, employment law. And I just love being able to be part of people's journey in resolving some really difficult disputes. But I actually, unfortunately, have, as I mentioned before, I have anxiety. And whilst you can definitely become a solicitor if you have anxiety or a mental health problem, or any neurodiverse condition, I'm also ADHD. So I didn't know that at the time. I was only recently diagnosed, but at the time when I was a solicitor in my previous firm, I did suffer really badly with anxiety. I was having lots of medication, and I just really wanted to get better, really. And the workplace for me wasn't working, and so I actually became really unwell, and I left my job, and that's essentially how I set up my own firm. So about it was March actually, 2018, I set up Thrive Law on my own. So prior to that, I'd been off sick for a little bit. I was unwell and didn't really want to be a solicitor anymore, and I kind of was thinking, why am I doing this? I've always wanted to be a solicitor. So when I got better, I decided I wanted to create a firm that gave a voice to people who are diverse, who want an inclusive environment, and who can show up as their true selves, to get rid of the kind of elitist approach to the legal sector, and actually encourage people to embrace a legal career and also to show up as their true self. And so 3 years ago, I set up my own law firm. I was one of the youngest law firm owners in the UK at age 29. So yeah, I mean, it's just been an incredible journey. I now have a team of 11 people working for me, and we offer different routes to training as a lawyer, such as apprenticeships. I'm really passionate about getting people into law through non-traditional methods. I mean, if I had my time again, I would definitely do an apprenticeship to get into law. The main reason why is because apprenticeships are part funded. So what that means is you can get some funding from the government and you can work while studying. So the way that an apprenticeship works is you work 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week you go to university. So obviously you're getting a salary throughout, but the benefit is you get a full-time salary. So you don't just get paid for 4 days, you get paid for 5 days, and your education is paid for partly by your employer and partly by the government. So obviously the finance issue that I had wouldn't have been, well, it wasn't an issue because I overcame it, but I obviously came out of university with debt. So one of the ways to remove that risk is actually to engage in programs such as apprenticeships. Not only do you learn on the job, so from day one you're learning how to be a lawyer, you also come out with obviously no debt, and then you've also got the benefit of having a salary. So it's really, really something that you should look into. Obviously there are options to get scholarships if you want to do if you want to go to university, and I'd certainly look at those regardless, even if you feel that, you know, it's something you can afford, because there's so much out there that you can get in terms of support for either grants or scholarships, either from universities, from employers, or in fact from different so if you want to be a barrister, the Inns of Court sometimes can give you scholarships as well. So they basically pay for your fees for university. So just do some research and don't be put off by cost or by any elitism perceptions that you might have. This is the perfect career for so many people, and I think a lot of organisations and now are really pushing the different routes to qualification. You can also qualify using, there's a way of qualifying called SILEX. And again, that's a similar route to the apprenticeship. You don't become a solicitor, but you become a legal executive, and you're effectively doing the same job. It's just a different title. So as you can see, there's absolutely loads of different ways that you can qualify. You can be a barrister, a solicitor, a paralegal. You can train as, you could go work in the courts and get experience if you're wanting to do some court work as a clerk. You can work in barristers' chambers. So there's lots of ways to get experience. And I think it's really important, if you are considering a career in law, to go and get as much experience as possible. You will have to do it unpaid, but if you can do a few days here, a few days there, and actually get a bit of a feel for, do I really like this? Is this for me? You're not going to know exactly what you want to do, even until you qualify. You won't know exactly what you want to do. So don't be hard on yourself if you're not sure kind of what area of law or what type of firm you want to go into. But have a think about what your values are, why you, if you do want to be a lawyer, why you want to be a lawyer. What is it about the profession? What is it that drives you towards it? Think about some of the characteristics that you might need for certain roles. So for example, if you want to be a barrister, that's a lot of public speaking. Now, I was really shy when I was at school. I was bullied and I did not like public speaking. I hated it. But the barrister course actually gave me a lot of confidence, and as you can see, like, I'm quite happy public speaking now. And so don't be put off necessarily by the fact that you're thinking, I couldn't stand up in court and do that. You get trained to do those things, and I think it's really important that you do what you feel you want to do, and you can do anything you want. You can put your mind to it, write down all the things that you really want to do in life, and actually work a plan towards getting to that point. I think a lot of people really struggle with understanding that actually you can do anything you want to do, and the reality is the only person stopping you is you. So after today, if anyone does want any work experience, you should contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you. And even if I can't give you work experience, I can put you in touch with some firms or give you some advice. I'm more than happy to have a one-to-one conversation with anybody. If you haven't got LinkedIn on social media, you need to have a look at setting one of those up as well. Again, really great way to network with lawyers. And I think I suppose moving forward, the thing to really think about is, if you do want to start any careers, even if it's not in law, think about how you're going to access that, and do a bit of research, to spend a bit of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Some areas, some careers, you will need a specific GCSE or A-level, so do be careful if it is a specific area that they require that, and some universities will require specific subjects. Mine didn't. A lot of universities for law don't actually require you don't have to do law at A-level, for example. Like I said, I did French, German, art and psychology. You'd never have thought I'd become a lawyer off the back of that. But actually, you need that diverse thinking, and you need those different skill sets. So I hope this has been really helpful. I really would encourage you to speak to each other after today, write down all of your ambitions, all of your goals, keep in touch. If anyone wants to connect with me on social media, I'll pop my social media on the screen, and I would love to stay connected, and I hope this has helped.